Hello and happy Monday, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Wednesday, February 12th, 2024. I am Jer Stays, and across the table from me here at Tech Town is none other than the wonderful and fan favorite Robin Runyan from Urbanize Detroit. Robin, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm all right, Jer. How you doing?
Good, good. In fact, we saw each other recently at an event that kind of precipitated the idea that we should get together and talk a little development.
Yeah, it was kind of a last minute thing, but we got the notice last week that this was happening, and it's like, hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah, because this specific development, the residences at Water Square, which, by the way, they are not sponsoring us, but I did swipe the coasters.
I did too.
They are here at the studio because, hey, I'll take some free coasters. Why not? I am a sucker for swag, and I will fully admit that. However, if somebody wanted to buy the coasters as a sponsor placement, I would easily and gladly replace them. But the residences at Water Square have gotten a lot of conversation because, well, a couple of things. Prices and the fact that they took no city money because they got this piece of land in the bankruptcy deal. And it went up really quick as a glass wall building, which we don't have that many of in downtown Detroit. It's gotten a lot of attention, Robin.
Yeah, so they were saying at the press conference that this really went up in 2 years, and he made a point to say on time and on budget. No tax breaks. It's very much a rarity in Detroit. It's very hard to do that in Detroit.
Yeah, well, and part of it is, there's a couple sides to this. One, no tax breaks means no affordable units. Because those two things are connected carrots and sticks to make that sort of thing happen. Because when you build market rate at the price it takes to get things done, we've talked about this on the podcast, prices kind of have to be up there a little bit.
Yeah, and these ones definitely are. They are pushing the market a little bit. I was browsing their availability right now. So just to give people what we're talking about here. So this is at the old Joe Louis Arena site on the riverfront. It is the new 25-story glass apartment building. We got a new building in town. It's crazy. It's up and it's going.
Mayor Mike Duggan was talking about redefining the skyline, and he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And there's going to be another one built right next to it pretty soon.
I thought about that when I was seeing the views. That's another conversation.
I was thinking about that, thinking about the people who are living on that east-facing side. They're just going to be watching construction for a while. But looking at the availability, it was actually pretty interesting because a lot of apartments have been taken already in the lower levels. But as you move up, obviously things get more expensive. And there's a decent amount of availability. There's nearly 500 apartments in this place. That's a lot.
That is basically like a neighborhood in a building.
Yeah, but I'm looking, okay, I won't look at floor 24 because that's come on.
That's the penthouse.
Right.
If we can afford that much, we would need a lot more patrons at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Let's choose floor 18, just out of nowhere. Okay.
All right.
So we got a one bedroom, $4,150.
Okay.
$4,150 per month for rent.
This is what you mean by pushing the market, because let's be honest, those are New York and Chicago prices in desirable neighborhoods.
784 square feet.
Now downstairs, there are different pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there are some one bedrooms for $2,925. It does get lower as you go. There's studios for $2,275. That's 586 square feet studio for $2,275.
I will say that I've gotten a lot of comments, and look, there's a place for luxury in a lot of markets, right? Like in a functioning city, you're going to have high end and you're going to have the affordable. There's going to be a mix. I at some point may want to talk to an economist about this. I was searching around, and some friends of the show have tried to help me find somebody, but underlying across the region, the question I get about this development and some other developments, how? Because it's not sitting in people's mind, and maybe is it in part we are a suburban region for the most part. We are used to being like, if I'm going to spend $3,000 a month, I'm going to be in a house. There is a cognitive dissonance here of how is this going to fill up? But yet there are definitely people leasing this thing. There's definitely a lot of interest in this thing. I think there's a lot of people who the numbers don't feel real anymore.
Right. I think there's a few things to look at. I think there are definitely people in the region who can afford this. We've seen these being leased. Maybe some people are coming from Birmingham or Royal Oak or other places around the region and, trying to find a place downtown now. And they have this there.
There's also a lot of people I've noticed that have, I will affectionately call FU money, where it's like, I'm just going to rent a pied-à-terre or something. I'm just going to hang out a place in the... When you're at that level, $2,000 a month is nothing, right?
Exactly. Another thing my commenters on Urbanize have been talking about is that it feels like there's not enough necessary amenities close by yet to reflect the price right now.
Now, I have gotten some pushback on that comment saying, well, there's going to be a store downstairs and, you're connected to the People Mover because that station is right across the street, that kind of thing. But I would agree that I look at that price and I'm like, okay, so the riverfront is a wonderful amenity.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But there was one commenter that I had, a listener was like, make this make sense to me because, they were browsing through the site and they were like, if it's going to be $4,000, like we're now starting to talk about New York. We're now starting to talk about major cities that have everything right there. And it's like, that is pretty. And there's nothing wrong with the building and it is luxury finishes, but it was literally make this make sense for me. And that kind of spurred me to like, maybe I need to talk to an expert.
Right. And kind of thinking about what's happening right now. In a few years, this whole area is going to look completely different because there's going to be the hotel next door. They're going to open up 2nd Avenue. There's going to be like parks and stuff, and everything is going to feel more connected.
You have West Riverfront Park right across from the Riverfront Towers.
Absolutely. But I can tell you, driving there yesterday and driving from it yesterday, it was kind of a pain. And I hate to say the parking kind of sucked, but it did. It really did.
So I lived in a tower in the 2000s, okay, before everything that kind of went up. And I could see a market for that kind of tower living where you go in there, there's a doorman, there is complete and total security. And a lot of in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, there was a big demand, especially among professionals and especially among women, to live in towers where you had everything taken care of and you had no security concerns whatsoever.
Mhm.
And I couldn't help but feel a little bit of that vibe here.
Yeah, for sure. And I understand that completely. It feels like there's not enough there right now, even if they do get like a little restaurant, a little store and everything. I hate saying it's not super walkable because it's on the riverfront.
Which connects you to a lot.
It's a hike. It's a little
Yeah.
bit of a hike. I mean, if there were just a few more stores around there right now where people could walk, if there were a few more places to go after work around there, so you could walk to places and not necessarily have to drive or get an Uber. Obviously, the People Mover's right there. We get it. But also, it's so close to Corktown, too. Like, it just feels like I want those connections to be there now to make sense for that price right now.
Right. So you're saying maybe at the lower price points, it makes a little bit more sense, but at the higher price points.
Yeah, I think it's pushing it.
Okay. It's interesting, too, to see how Detroit's market has evolved because it seems to be an endless supply of people who are willing to spend a lot of money to live in Detroit or to have a Detroit apartment. And that does boggle my mind. I will fully admit, I thought we would have a middle stage and we went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, I'm happy if people prove me wrong and this place is like totally leased out at the prices they're asking. That'd be great because we also get those tax dollars too in the city, which is, always needed.
Let's talk about the fit and finish. What did we think? There was the gym, there was a pool, there were some decks. It was very modern. I felt very, very Chicago, Toronto, new development kind of feel.
Yeah, it's a pretty building. They get floor to ceiling windows, which is nice. Although somebody commented there's no you can't open windows, which limits airflow.
You have to do that for HVAC.
I'll let them worry about that.
Okay.
I was kind of in a hurry when I was at the property, so I didn't get to see everything that I wanted, but I did get to go up to the rooftop, which looked really, really nice.
It was fab.
Yeah, it was pretty cool just to see a different skyline view of Detroit. And that's something that Mike Duggan talked about yesterday was how this is a change to the skyline. We've had the Exchange go up. We've had Huntington Tower go up. Hudson's Tower is going up right now. So, all these pictures of the skyline in the past have looked very similar, and that is definitely changing right now.
100%. So, jury's out on this one?
We'll see. I mean, it's a nice building. It's a nice place. They did have a valet. I will say that. I did not use the valet.
I used the valet.
Okay.
I used the valet.
I could have done that.
I think if you've got the money to live in this place, you got the money for the valet.
Right, for sure.
I think that's a definition of this place, and every city has them. So I would love to hear from somebody. If you've leased a place of any of these kinds, I actually want to hear from you. It would be great to talk about kind of what your thoughts are, what your job, like where you're coming from, what your job is. and from a totally non-judgment zone because,
Mhm.
we've had rich people on Daily Detroit before. But so check it out. They've got a website. We'll actually post up some photos and things. And if anything, this has got the city talking, and they've already made some progress with it.
Absolutely.
Next up, and just down the way from these residences, is news that funding was approved for fixing Hart Plaza. Reading in urbanize.city, detroit.urbanize.city. I hear it's a good website, Robin.
Thanks.
$5.8 million in American Rescue Plan funds. I am very excited about this because I have been around Detroit long enough to remember the ethnic festivals and this fountain running consistently. And I cannot tell you how geeked I am to see this because there has been such a drift in the vision of what Hart Plaza was supposed to be from Isamu Noguchi to now, and every little bit of water, green, all those other things, I think is a huge improvement.
Yeah, for sure. So this funding is going towards the fountain to get it to run again. Work actually started on it late last year, but now they're kind of amping it up. They want to have it running by the NFL draft in a couple of months. So hopefully they got a good plan in place to do that. But it's, the center of this Hart Plaza. And I mean, the fountain's kind of so interesting itself, just this big metal circular thing that a lot of people don't even know is a fountain.
Ahead of its time, really.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many festivals at Hart Plaza throughout the summer, and the plaza itself has been in rough shape for a long time. It's all concrete, which I don't think anybody likes.
That was not actually the original design. Number of listeners have sent me things over the years about how there was a lot more green space, how it had a lot more flow, but city budget cuts made it so that they would just pave or put blocks over everything. And there are numbers of letters between Noguchi and the city begging them to add back green space. But in the 80s, the city was about cutting budgets.
Yeah, and that's too bad because so many people come in from out of town for these festivals, and that's what they see. And a lot of the, kind of the walkways, the sidewalks have been kind of rough to walk on. And there's this whole underground space that's not really used, and a lot of people would like to see that kind of up and going again.
I remember with the ethnic festivals going down there, and there will be all kinds of vendors, and even some years with movement, some years past, not the more recent ones, but years past, seeing kind of
been down there.
As have I. I think I'm actually going to make it out to movement this year.
Nice.
Good lineup this year. Idris Elba coming to town, of all things.
I might have to go too.
Yeah. Daily Detroit party at Movement. Is this going to happen?
I hope so.
All right. dailydetroit@gmail.com. And I know people over there listen. So let's make that happen. Let's do a Daily Detroit Movement party. That would be awesome. And also, if the fountain is running, I'm dancing in it. 100%.
Let's do it. Let's hope it's a hot weekend and not weird weather like we're having all the time.
I have so many good movement stories over the years. It's one of the true gems of meeting the world here in Detroit. Before we wrap up here, there's more details about the RenCen Towers purchase. Now, this is the two shorter towers that I think hold Blue Cross Blue Shield in one of them, not the main complex. But Robin, it kind of shows the health or weakness of the Detroit market right now, and especially with office space specifically.
Yeah, we found out at the end of the year that Friedman Real Estate bought these two towers, and we found out this week that they paid $15 million for them.
That's a lot of money, but not a lot of money. For these, it's not a lot of money at all. If for $15 million sitting on this table here at Tech Town, it'd be a lot of money. But for that, no, not a lot of money.
No. So it's $15 million plus another $10 to $15 million to keep Blue Cross Blue Shield there. That seemed super low to me. Kirk Pinho posted a bunch of prices of buildings that have sold, in the last 10, 15 years downtown. And it's just a reminder of kind of how far we've come. We've kind of fallen back a little bit since the pandemic because the office space situation is so weird right now. But the thing that stood out to me, I know I say I have a lot of favorite buildings and a lot of favorite places, whatever, in Detroit. I like architecture. It's fine.
You are a building nerd.
I am a little bit. But my favorite building is the Penobscot building. And I think it is the most underutilized building in the city. It's beautiful. It's a perfect Art Deco building. And the owners have just...
I worked there for years. And even when it was more occupied, nothing worked.
Yeah. It was bought, and this is just a reminder of where we were and where we've come. It was bought in May of 2012. for $4.8 million. That's $4.82 per square foot for this beautiful classic Art Deco skyscraper.
Which needs a ton of repairs.
It absolutely does.
Modernization, windows, everything.
They've had 12 years.
Well, look at what they did to the Silverdome, though. I'm sorry, and I don't mean that as a personal slam, but they also own the Silverdome, and that became a wreck. I'll just be honest. I worry about the track record because what an amazing, amazing residential space that could be.
Absolutely. And there used to be a viewing deck on one of the top floors. And
I've been out on that deck. It wasn't officially open, but I got one of the people who were tenants let me go out there.
Yeah. We don't have many spaces like that where people can go up or the public can just go up. It's a no-brainer.
All of it's a no-brainer. I mean, see, the thing is that's challenging about this is not that it's impossible. It's about freeing up that property to get it to somebody who has the resources to do it. What we've learned, or at least what I've learned in covering this, is that there's just a difference between if you have the money or if you don't. You look at this residences at Water Square, they got the money. It's happening.
Yeah, the building doesn't need the whole like book tower treatment. That was a whole thing. That was what, $400 million?
That's a hyper luxe treatment.
Absolutely. Just get it to where people enjoy it, they use it, they can appreciate it. I love this building.
I can't even imagine how many apartments you could fit in there. Because everywhere has windows. Like the thing about it is it's one of those older buildings. So because of that, there are channels where air gets in and light gets in. So you're able to do a lot more with it.
Yeah. This is a plea to the owners or something. Just sell it. Sell it to somebody who cares.
Yeah. Like you're going to make money off of it. Do it. Get rid of it. Send it to somebody who cares. And if we've got a nerdy listener out there, I would love to know how many apartments or units do you think you could fit in the Penobscot Towers? Because there's actually multiple sections to that building.
I feel like there are nerdy listeners out there. I feel like there are definitely architecture nerds who are listening to this right now.
dailydetroit@gmail.com would love to hear from you. Calling all building nerds. Robin Runyan, Urbanize Detroit. Always so good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Jer.
I swear, that fountain runs, I am dancing in it. I'm going to bring my swim trunks. I'm going all the way.
I will bring my camera.
Well, with that, I am Jer Stays.
I'm Robin Runyan.
Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around town. Talk tomorrow.